We made it. We're back. Another sound design hangout, SDHO. I'm going to try talking a little bit lower. I'm entering a new world of sound. Just getting exposure to recording the audio from this microphone, which I don't, up until making these videos, I haven't had a whole lot of need to work with audio recordings of my voice because I've just done a little bit of that. And I've done EQing before on human voices, my own or other people's, very minimally over the last 9 years that I've been doing this. But it's been interesting, and I've thought that one of the best things was to talk as close as possible, obviously without peaking the meters. But I don't know. I'm trying a few things. I'm even thinking about getting another mic so I can kind of compare and contrast, but that's just me cracking my knuckles. So anyways, today's sound design hangout, and I know I've been saying this in other sound design hangouts, but we're hanging out and we're making sounds. There's more talking going on. And what I've been doing lately, I've noticed, is I'm sort of trial running future tutorials because, I can dance and play around and do what I want in these sound design hangouts. But from what I can tell, and I'm not sure what your thoughts are on this, but it seems to me if you're making YouTube content where you're saying, here, click this, I'm going to be giving you this, people are expecting the title to be right. They're expecting you to get in it, getting into it in a way that is very linear, very concise, very boop, 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 not a lot of farting around or unnecessary talking. So, I that risers, which was the last tutorial I put out, risers, I knew I was going to make one. I knew risers was going to be my next video, but I had to think about it more, how I would present it. So yeah, these SDHOs, at least right now, I've noticed a little trend, and today is a trend of one that I've been thinking about for a while. It was a really good idea because I want to, until I run out of ideas, and I've gone over, as I've said in the past, every nook and cranny of Ableton, I'd like to give exposure to areas that aren't used a lot in tonight's SDHO. It'll be no different. It'll be no different. Cheers. By the way, it'll be no different because I've got a new area that will be very familiar, which is probably a good reason to jump in. So let's insert a MIDI track. And a really good video I suggest you watch if you haven't seen it, if you dare, is Collision. But Collision isn't what we're going to focus on today. We're going to focus on Collision's resonator capabilities, which Ableton has an audio effect called Corpus. And if we drag and drop Corpus, take a look. How similar are these areas? So if you look at Collision, as we've said, we've got a mallet and a noise oscillator. And this whole mallet noise section gets fed into one of two resonators on Collision. And if we take a look just at resonator here, it's darn near identical to Corpus. Look, you got the beams, marimba, string, membrane, plate, pipe, blip, blip, blip. It's the same thing basically, just slightly different. You also still got an LFO over here in Corpus. You actually have dedicated filtering, which you actually don't have in Collision. There's some filtering on the noise oscillator, but a lot of times you'll use Collision and not even use noise. Mallet and noise, they combine together or don't to hit a resonator. And if you don't have mallet on or noise, and you push a button and obviously record enable, nothing happens. So in order to get any noise, and I'm just going to turn off Corpus just to illustrate this. If you double click, you will minimize the object, whether it's on or off. So Collision, I'm going to hit a note, nothing's happening. But if I put on mallet, we got something. If I put on noise, Can't hear it as well. You can't really, I don't know, it's, and together they both play. They both contribute. But again, with none, you get nothing. That's because this resonator, which can be a beam, marimba, string, membrane, plate, pipe, tube, which you can change its decay parameters, the material parameters, where you're striking this resonating object, and what you're striking it with is either this mallet or this noise. And so you've got these bright, these ones, which will change. Like if you go to like pipe or tube, now you don't have bright, but you have opening. What's the opening like of the pipe? So in any event, and to be honest, I got this idea. By the way, these sound pretty good with reverb, and hard to not use hybrid reverb, because without it, kind of dry. Very wet, very wet. Don't even need that though. And that's what's really cool. And by the way, there's like a deeper backstory here that I think you'll find interesting. So as you saw over here, we dropped in a hybrid reverb under the reverb and resonance tab, which is the same tab that houses Corpus. So these devices are either in this particular tab, they're either reverb or resonance, just like it says. And the reason why I wanted to bring Collision up, because basically Corpus is like an offshoot, an audio effect that you can drop on any track. So we can drop, so for instance, if we're using this Collision, like we are bound to a MIDI track, and you either have audio tracks or MIDI tracks. There are no other tracks. Well, there are in return tracks, but these return tracks, they're different. You don't put, you don't put samples, pieces of audio. You don't put MIDI instruments on there. So for the most part, you've got audio and MIDI tracks. So this Collision is a MIDI instrument. It's going to always live on there, right? Corpus can go on anything, and basically it's the same thing as Collision. It's just you're not striking it with a mallet or this unusual noise area. You're actually delete. You can run anything through it. You can actually just run audio through it, which we'll do later, just like a random piece of audio. Which, by the way, I added a bunch of new samples to my Ken Sounds folder under my favorite category, which is Found Sound. I added a lot of, I don't even think you can hear any of this stuff because it doesn't play through any of these channels. So I will just, we'll do some of that later. But first I want to use Corpus in the way I imagined using it. So here's some of the backstory. Basically my history with this unusual device that almost like never gets used, Corpus. I'm sure there's probably not a whole lot of Corpus tutorials out there, to be honest with you. And to be honest, when I make this into a tutorial later, I don't know if it's going to be a Corpus tutorial or maybe something different, because the main thing is resonators. That's really the main key component. Main key component here is, coming back in here in audio effects, that it's a reverb, or, it's a resonator. And resonators are very interesting. So here's how I got the idea. So as I mentioned, I was working on Collision when I was making the tutorials. And when I discovered how powerful Collision and tension are, they sort of solved a problem for me that I had been grappling with for years, because when I realized what I was mostly doing, as I said, I've been doing this for 9 years. First, I thought I was doing Ableton because I was like going to be this hip hop producer. Now, again, this is me like 10 years ago, like my goal is to be like the best hip hop producer. I wanted to do no samples. I wanted everything done on my own. And so when I realized that the way I was going to get really good, really unique musical compositions, that I would create my own original music in Ableton, I knew I had to learn every single nook and cranny, even learn sampling techniques and sampling, not because I was going to be using samples and sampling other people's stuff, which is, a lot of the time what someone who's more of like a sampler does. Not like there's anything wrong with that. Unless it's like a clear ripoff of someone's music and they say, hey, that's not cool. But the techniques you could use in sampling, you could lend itself to other things like sampling your own work. So in any event, I knew that I had to, one of my big things being a sound designer is I knew that there was a finite number of sound design synthesis methods. And if you've watched my videos, we've covered the first one, which was subtractive synthesis, then frequency modulation synthesis or FM synthesis. And then there was like sample synthesis, which I guess the proper name is transitory synthesis. And then a variation of that, which is very interesting, is wavetable synthesis. And there really aren't that, and there's like granular synthesis, which you could say is the same as like sample synthesis on a degree, and then also wavetable synthesis. But like that's kind of it, you know what I mean, for the most part. And then you have physical modeling synthesis like collision. And so I got really interested when I was like, listen, every piece of music I listen to, unless it's like a clear, like distinct guitar or flute or horn or something, like a brass instrument or like a violin. For the most part, like I wanted to know that I could use whatever synthesizer, like analog operator, wavetable, whatever, to recreate it. And I realized there was a whole group of sounds that I was like, how the hell am I going to implement them? Or how the hell am I going to recreate them? And the various cornucopia, or whatever the term is, umbrella term that these sounds fall under is sounds that employ some sort of resonating quality. And when I was playing with like collision, I realized that this resonator thing that gets used, so maybe I should say this before we really start flying into what we're really trying to do here and how Corpus works into it, because we're really only using collision right now to tell the backstory. And it's a great excuse to use an amazing device, collision, which is like my new obsession right now. Like right now I'm like, I've gotten to the level in my Ableton career where I can boldly look at anyone and say, well, you know what, my friend, right now my two favorite Ableton instruments is collision and wavetable. I don't know what that means. But they make me really happy. So in any event, where was I going with that? To kind of conclude, I realized that a resonator, which is active in these physical modeling synthesizers like collision, tension, and even electric, it's where, in basically mallet percussion, is that you have an object, and it can be anything. Like it can be, well, not a beer can. I've got nothing to grab right now. But like if you took any sort of an object, which I guess is technically called an excitator or excitator, which is just any sort of an object you would hold and you would strike another object. And when you strike this other object, it might have resonating capabilities, which means it vibrates back and forth and produces a unique tone, which in Collision's case, and obviously Corpus's case, it's, a beam, a marimba, a string, a membrane, a plate, a pipe, tube. Same thing over here on Collision. We're going to be jumping off Collision soon. This is just for illustrative purposes. But, we're striking it with this mallet, and this mallet might have like a different type of a stiffness, it might have a different weight to it. And in tension, the other physical modeling synthesizer, which seeks to not really do percussion like in Collision, but it seeks to do more like a stringed instrument, it says, well, what are you hitting this string with? Are you hitting with like a pick, which is called a plectrum? Are you doing it with a bow, like a violinist would do? These excitating objects will go over a resonating or resonant device that will, be one of these things here. And it will vibrate back and forth, and it will give it this very acoustical space quality, which is what you get whenever you do reverb. And most reverb is basically like just mathematical equations, besides convolution reverb, which seeks to take an impulse of a room and then be as if you were playing your sound through that acoustical space. And reverb, whether you're using Ableton's reverb, which has been along since the Stone Age, or its newer hybrid reverb, you're getting a reverb. But chorus, resonator, spectral resonator, which I got to explore that more, and I guess even vocoder, which I don't know why vocoder's in here. But in any event, those other ones, which are resonator devices, they give off a very similar tone to a very similar kind of a profile to the sound as would be reverb, which is giving it an acoustical space, like giving a space to it. Because every time we hear sound, we're not just hearing a dry sound. Like if you just dropped a synthesizer and played it outright, you're hearing a dry sound, meaning there's no acoustical space to it because you're hearing it just directly through like this digital medium, which is Ableton and these software synthesizers. So you add a reverb and suddenly it becomes alive, because anything you hear and this blew me away when I was like learning about sound design just on my own, like at work. I should be working, I should be making like phone calls like, hey, excuse me, sir, I know you're happy in the job you're in right now, but I've got a job that is the same job you're doing, but it will pay better, and it might cut down your commute. Want to talk to me and interview with me? You know what I mean? Like that's what I was doing. And like, I'm just like, man, screw this. I'm like reading about resonators and corpus, and I'm like getting happy, and I'm like, life will be better soon. Ableton will give me freedom. It will give me a better life. Sovereignty is important. Yes. Cheers. Cheers if you value sovereignty. Whew. You guys are getting me all worked up. I feel you. I definitely feel you. I'm feeling great. And we haven't even gotten into corpus yet. Although we definitely have. Let's see here. Did you hear that? It's my pug snoring. He's like just adjusting. He's like laying on a pile of blankets. By the way, a lot of people do sound design where you take a pug snoring, the audio sample, and you time stretch it, doing my favorite audio technique, and it's good. We probably have to do that on a later SDHO or something. So anyways, when I dug into... rounding up that story in the quickest way possible, and why I even told it, and I didn't even finish it, but because there was a lot to say, okay? Sorry. As I've always told you on this channel, I'd rather give you more at the expense of giving you too little, because we're getting deep here. So in any event, I noticed there were certain sounds, and they were basically sounds that were done with resonators. So I knew that I wouldn't be able to recreate them completely on my own in operator, wavetable, analog, a more traditional synthesizer using a more traditional sound design synthesis technique. So I knew I had to have a different way. So when I was like having super fun making that collision video, which I think just hit 1,000 views, which 1,000 is a big deal for me right now. I used to go years without getting maybe even 10 views in an entire year. Yes, not even kidding. My channel's been around since 2010. I think my first video was maybe 2011 or 2012. Go back and find out. I wasn't posting seriously to grow it. I was just posting videos to have fun. But in any event, like, been around for a while. But moving forward here. So when I was making the collision one, I was like, okay, got it, cool. But what about corpus? Because I knew corpus was an audio effect, which meant you could drop it on MIDI tracks and you could drop it on audio tracks. So I was like, well, what's going on in collision? And I'm like, well, if corpus is the same thing as collision, it's just the only difference is like you customize the mallet and then the noise component that then hits, if you will, the resonator 1, and then also resonator 2 in the collision device. I got to remember to breathe every so often. So in any event, I was like, well, this is opening a whole nother question for me. Now let's delete collision. What happens if you, instead of that mallet section, that noise section, well, what if you came into operator and you fed operator. Oh, sweet lordy. Lower that master volume, please. What would it sound like if you ran operator through it? Now, right now on oscillator A, we're just outputting a sine wave. Oh man, I'm already falling in love with this. Oh man, this is just pure happiness here witnessing with me. I hope it's not too intense. I've had that, I think a lot of us, drop a comment if you've ever experienced, oh, how good is that? What's really sweet about this is we don't even really need a reverb because the resonator almost kind of acts like a reverb, which basically is corpus. I think that's a major 9 chord. If we activate hybrid reverb, I need more decay. More decay. Take it off serial, put it on parallel. Ouch, we went too low, and we made hybrid reverb get very upset. And he was like, that's not happening again. Although, who knows? Hybrid reverb could be a lady. Who knows? I felt I had to say that. I didn't want to get canceled. I got canceled before my YouTube channel even made it to the air. Oh, wow, what kind of edgy content did you put out there, sir? Sound design? What sound design? Cheers. Have you found that entertaining? By the way, if you're happy learning some of these backstories and some of these sound design things, definitely drop a like. Thank you. Too much. In fact, I'm going to click off hybrid reverb and we'll just go back into the other reverb because why not? I feel like I need to be exploring these more. I like this reverb when I just need a go-to reverb sound. I always have an EQ and a compressor on every track. I don't need to do much with the EQ right now. Right now, all the EQ is doing is just cutting out some lows, which is just what I feel is necessary for every track. Because you really don't need anything below 50 hertz, and there's a very generous roll-off, which will extend further down. You don't need much more than on every track. Compressor, I just feel like I need more compression. So listen to it right now. I'm going to play some notes. And you won't really get any compressor effect until you see this gain reduction. Okay, that was weird. Okay, no, not cool collision, because if I play a D note and I'm not going to play a C, I only played 2 semitones down and it did that crazy sound. Why it's being activated that loud when I hit that, I don't know, but not cool, man. Not cool. In fact, I'm actually going to, because I don't want that to happen, I'm going to put the pitch here and I'm just going to shift it up just 1 semitone. So now I'm playing in C sharp because I'm on my laptop keyboard. Wow, even that. And in fact, I'm going to go over to stay MIDI effects to velocity here because I don't want it to be only outputting. So if I'm playing on my MIDI keys and there's no MIDI velocity, so it outputs the full velocity every time, which can make things get very out of hand. But I'm going to keep random up on this velocity. So I want random velocities. And you won't hear velocities unless you have velocity going on. So right now in operator, all I have is just a sine wave. It says user, but it's actually a sine wave. For some reason, this display doesn't operate properly because I have a sine wave in here. I'll even go back to sine wave. If I click 32, look, it goes to user. So that's why I said in certain videos that I'm roasting the Ableton devs, being like, hey guys, there's some things we need to update in operator, and there's other things, but I won't get into that here. Much love. I'm not hating her at all. In fact, I'm doing free promotion to Ableton. I don't know. Ooh, that's a weird chord. It's very serious. Serious, but also carefree, I guess, a little bit. Not carefree, serious and inquisitive. Trying to solve a dilemma. But it's not a terrible dilemma. It's a dilemma of Bitcoin or Ethereum. Well, they're very different. One's a store of value, and one started the whole smart contract buzz and thing. Yeah, but Ethereum's got really high gas fees. like stupidly high. But Ethereum 2.0 is coming out. Yeah, but no longer in June, actually in Q3. And even when it does get rolled out, it doesn't actually address scalability, and the gas fees will still be so high, like stupidly high, like $30 a transaction, sometimes more especially for a swap. I hope you don't mind. I mean, here's the thing. I've been recording for 25 minutes, and if you're watching an SDHO and you've been here 25 minutes, that's because you're having a good time. And if you're having a good time, smash that like. And if you also like crypto, smash a like. I'm going to be starting a Patreon soon, you guys. And yeah, I don't know much about Patreon at all. Hopefully I have a crypto option. But I'd be open to all sorts. If you think crypto's the future, drop a like. Where were we? Damn, that even sounded good. Okie dokie, so what were we doing? Well, we've only been throwing this into a beam. Let's throw it into something else. I can adjust all of these parameters for sure, but actually, look over here. Look over here on tune. This is a C note. Very tonal, but there's a sidechain. Now it should play whatever note I'm playing. See if it sounds different. Wait a second. Is this happening? Maybe it only works if you're putting it on a different track. But you know what I mean? Because it's right after here, MIDI is being put into Corpus. Or I don't know. I'm not really too sure. But it doesn't seem like it's... I don't know. Maybe it's happening. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like it's changing the Corpus, right? Because if I turn Corpus off... By the way, let's take it off Beam. Marimba is very similar to Beam, I've noticed. By the way, if you put it on high, it just uses more computer resources, but I guess it gives you like a more it does more calculations. Oh man, ideas. I was kind of like messing around with that. But see, that's the thing. Like every so often you'll hit a note. Well, you want to know why? That's probably because I'm going to take this velocity down, too much velocity, and I'm going to give it more release. So things... But if you... By the way, always drop a limiter, no matter what anyone says. Always have a limiter on just so it catches any peaks, even though we're being pretty good with it right now. Did that just say Elon Musk acquired Twitter? Smash a like if you think that's a good thing and you love free speech. What? By the way, string's my least favorite. Membrane's supposed to be more like a drum. You know what? I got to take this velocity down more because these little peaks are just too much. In fact, I got to put this range down because, like, it's... Oh, drop a like if you like that sound. Now, what if we come into here? By the way, this isn't a user form. This is sine wave. What if we put on something a little bit more harmonic? Let's do a saw wave. Oh, wow. Okay, this really had to happen. That's a chord. Wow, I'm satisfied. This is now the coolest thing I've ever done in my life. Oh, man. I'm having fun, man. I hope you guys are having fun with me because sometimes you need something fun in your life that you can fall back on when things are getting tough. and things are getting not so easy, breezy, and fun in your life. And we're going to good places. Some say we're entering the new golden age on the planet, and that there's been golden ages before, and that's what we're entering now. And that like it's darkest before dawn. You know, have you heard sometimes it's dark, like it's darkest before dawn? I think he heard it. Merlin. That's my pug. His name's Merlin. He's like a little wizard. A little wizard of love. I don't even know what to do. I almost want to do like free running fun because this has just been great. I wanted to know what would happen if I... so I'm going to open up another MIDI track just for illustration purposes, and I were to go to instruments and drop a collision. When I was learning collision, and as the way I teach collision is really the only way I think it should be taught, is that like you got mallet and you got noise, and if you don't have mallet or noise, there's no sound. And even if you have mallet or noise, if you don't have one of these resonators inactive, you won't have any sound. Like you won't. Look, both resonators inactive. I'm going to arm this track, click a button. You know what I mean? What I really liked is I was like, excuse me, I'm jumping around. I'm finding it hard to stay linear. I'm like going multi-dimensional. Drop a like if you're multi-dimensional. Or at the very least, would like to be multidimensional, or would like to think that multidimensionality is at the very least a realistic possibility. And I was like, if my hypothesis is correct, and when we're in collision and we have resonator 1 and resonator 2, well, if it's possible that the beautiful, delicious Corpus device, if it's true that Corpus is really just one of these resonators, so the only thing truly differentiating collision and Corpus is the fact that there is this mallet and this noise, and that it's fed into a resonator, well, then that gives me an idea. Maybe Corpus doesn't have to be so difficult and so crazy. And I'm tired of doing that voice, I've got to morph out of it. What if Corpus can do incredible things and we can literally just run a sine wave? Or let's go check it. Operator, let's get off of a saw wave. Let's throw a noise. Almost sounds like a gong. This could be a gong. Go to envelope. I don't know. It has to stay open. This is the volume envelope. Let's give it a little bit of a tag so the volume fades in. This is the volume envelope, by the way, guys. No, see, like, I want a gong, but I don't want it to be so brighty. Let's take the frequency down. Does that do it? But like we want more high frequency, but if we do more high frequency, we get that very obvious noise sound. Let's lower the resonance. Not doing what I want. I'm going to go back to saw 6. I mean, dude, we are feeding a saw wave, which, okay, let's turn off Corpus, just so you know. So this sound is coming from this sound. Okay, ready? Corpus is on. Dude, are we in like Jamaica or something? Like we've got these steel drums. We're island boys, maybe island girls as well. Let's. Oh my god. Now I will admit our reverb is coloring things. So as we turn off reverb, but I'll just open up the reverb. Turn off reverb. Turn on back reverb. And then turn back on Corpus, so we're getting a resonator going. Wow, Membrane, you sound so good. Membrane, you sound so good. Oh, please. And we got a dry wet so we can dial it in. Maybe turn the gain down because it's blasting our ears. I mean, dude, we're all we're doing is throwing a saw wave into a resonator, into a reverb, and suddenly if you closed your eyes, you would think I would be playing a sample pack of like steel drums or pan drums. And we can do more velocity modulations. So like we can, where do we go for velocity? Where do we go for velocity? I don't even know. I honestly don't even care. I just want to have fun. Let's see. I've been going for a half hour. Typically, because I almost want to just record like another sound design hangout and switch, because maybe I need a little break, a little timeout. No, not yet. We're going to keep on going. Cheers if you've been loving this, finding this to be useful, and if you're totally in love with this as I am right now and I'm not crazy. So my first thought is that sounds good, but what if I like come over to here, click it, shift down arrow, down an octave? I'm in love. I fell in love with Collision. Now I'm falling in love with Corpus. Maybe, just maybe, I'm falling in love with Resonators. By the way, guys, I'm not acting. I got these crazy different voices. No, don't be worried. Just like personalities running through, man, and they get activated when I do stuff I like, which is really why I do Ableton. Like I'm not just doing Ableton and other stuff because I love doing it. I love sound, which I do, but like it really makes me feel good and happy. It's something like, if I'm having a bad day or I'm feeling like crappy about stuff, I can just like open it up and just like play around with sounds. And eventually, and I think this goes with any form of art or any form of creativity, eventually when you're working on something, when you're refining something, when you're going through the creative process, eventually something starts coming to life. Like it doesn't, and I'm going to be doing some videos. I might even do some sound design hangouts, and I'm going to jump into my 3D computer graphics software called Blender, which is free. So all of you can follow along with me. Cheers if you know what Blender is. It's open source. It's incredible. This has been very satisfying, but don't worry. I always hated that when you were watching a show back in the day when you had to like deal with commercials. You couldn't have like opted out for like a streaming service. I mean, back in the day, drop a like if you remember the 90s and the 2000s. What? I'm going to not love and leave you that quick. I'm going to, I think, stop talking because like right now I'm starting to get tired from talking and I want to keep creating things even when I get off this podcast. But because I'm really happy with the sound, because I'm very happy with the sound, I'm going to close it by using two of my favorite techniques done in tandem. I'm not going to explain anymore because I just totally need to like just start doing them and getting into them. So I'm going to love and leave you with that and have fun enjoying the rest. I might interject with a couple of closing thoughts, but right now, because I feel that we've sort of hit our stride and hit our vibe, and we accomplished what we wanted to today, and we were very happy with that. And that's another way I like work on my music or just anything is I like to sort of have like a thing I want to accomplish. So when I like go to work, when I go to practice, I'm not just practicing like I'm just like plucking notes. Like there's like a reason why I'm plucking them. Like there's like a thing that I know I need to like do better. And so I'm like, okay, like, get better at like, your finger picking when you're playing the bass, and then after that work on like the melodic minor scale and how that might give a different tone or whatever. So in any event, I'm going to play around and then going to, take off. I want to record that output. Hit record. Nah, that one didn't sound very good. think I like this one. Let's isolate it. Command Option I. Hover on this click. Hover on this clip. Command D to duplicate. Because in this clip, I want to crop it. Let's play it. Very nice. You can see that it's warped, and you can see it's on repitch. It knows I like repitch. Yours might be on beats. See what beats sounds like. Damn near the same. But if you want to follow along, put it on repitch, and repitch sounds different when you tweak these parameters. See? So now if we do this, I'm gonna turn loop off. I don't want it to be looping. And I'm going to, I don't know why I can't adjust the loop length yet, but I want to do this. I'm going to zoom out. I want it very, very long. Don't know why I can't find the end of this thing over here. That's so weird. There we go. There we go. It's just off screen. Let's see what this sounds like. Maybe not that stretched out. You're basically changing the pitch when you're doing this. That's why I love this technique. By the way, I have a video on this. The video where I do this, well, first of all, I do this on a lot of my channels, but the video where I do this, which is actually my only short video, at least with like Ableton stuff, but it's called my favorite Ableton technique, or my favorite, which actually really hasn't gotten that many views. It's got, I think, like a little over 300. You know, at the time, which was like a year ago, I thought it was like clickbaity, but like nothing's clickbaity if your channel never gets seen, which is how it was last year. But I was like, I wanted to show this technique, which, I mean, obviously it's talked about in other videos, which is basically utilizing Ableton's warp mode repitch, which is my favorite for sound design, but like I mostly use Ableton in a sound design kind of way. So when I have this, what I want to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to, I don't know, am I allowed to freeze the track? I want to like bounce it into its own thing so I can play it on a sampler. Huh. And then I'm nervous because I'm recording here. I wonder if you're even able to freeze because it like has to stop. Anyways, it doesn't matter. So let's see here. So we have this. I'm going to just do crop sample. No, I don't even think it matters. And then I want to insert a MIDI track. I'm going to drop a simpler on here. I'm going to start using simpler more because I know there's some people who don't have Ableton Live Suite, so like they can't use sampler. So I'm going to click in sampler and drag this one, and let's see if we get what the thing we made. No, see, it's not doing it. Got to go to maybe warp and go to complex. Yeah, see, it's not really working because it's not treating it how we stretched it here. That's why I wanted to like flatten and loop it, but I think I have a workaround for it. So just remember this sound. Oh, this thing, we gotta deactivate that. Oh man, that sounds awful. I'm just gonna delete this. That was really upsetting me right there. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to click this and I'm gonna push tab and I'm gonna come into here. And I think this might cancel my recording. If I click this, it might cancel what I'm recording in here, but I will just do it anyway because like I might just end it here anyway. So look, I'm gonna click this and it'll probably cut out. Yeah, it did. But I'm back and I realized that when you go into here, you can right click and you can freeze the track. I'm going to come into here. I'm going to see if this plays how I want it to play. Okay. Now here's the thing. I want to play that deep sound in a simpler. Now, if I just drag this straight in, and I make sure I record, it's not that. And so I thought what I was doing was going to allow me to like shift it down. So if you come into controls over here and you go to transpose and you shift down arrow, more, pretty close, right? Drag out the release. So after we hit the note. So we took this thing in audio, this wonderful thing we created. Yeah. And we threw it in a sampler, which allows us to play it on the keyboard. Now, that's such a unique sound. Like, open up analog, open up operator, open up wavetable, and recreate this for me. Now someone's going to be like, actually, I could recreate this on my own so easy, so simply. Really, you just need a square wave with a little bit of pulse modulation thrown into a filter, of course a dynamic filter fab filter, and then you need to morph it with the LFO, but not too much LFO, and it can't be a perfect sine wave, it has to be slightly different. Maybe even use Ableton's NFO, because then you can add some jitter in there, of course. Everyone likes some jitter. You know what I mean? Like, you could be one of those guys, but like, for real, let's see what it sounds like up an octave. I feel like that's what like the Phantom of the Opera guy plays. You know what I mean? By the way, I've never seen that. I don't know about that. I don't know about I don't know about that Broadway stuff, man. Like, don't even try to act like I will be there. You know what I'm saying? That's for like, I don't know, not to guys like me, I'm saying, but ready, like, it's like you're like this like wizard guy in this like castle, or I guess whatever a phantom is, By the way, drop a like if you like the blockchain phantom. What FTM token going to new all-time highs this year? What? By the way, I'm just playing my laptop, right? I'm playing my laptop keyboard. All right. Time to close it out. Let's give me an idea. How do we close it out? Let's close it out with a loop. By the way, whoever said like if you like close out your videos with some like loop or piece of music that you were making, that would be an extra good fade out. In addition to sometimes the weird things I do at the end of my videos, which really just like copying and pasting videos on top of videos. It's very easy. And by the way, guys, in addition to like the 3D computer graphics artist stuff, I'm also gonna like do a sound design hangout, which is really just my podcast. So if we don't do, maybe I'll do sound design on every one, just so no one gets mad and goes, I turned into sound design hangout because I personally thought this young man, which by the way, if you're like a 70 years old dude or 90 years old dude from out in the country that talks like this, something tells me you're probably not watching this channel anyway, but I thought I was expecting to get a bunch of sound design, and then this Yahoo comes on here and he tries to throw on this stuff about this digital art. Digital art? What happened to analog art? I can't comprehend you. Yeah, who knows? I don't even know where that voice comes from. Maybe a parallel reality. By the way, drop a like if you feel that you've reincarnated onto this planet literally like 70, 100 billion times. And now you're ready for the ascension. Drop a like if you know what ascension is. All right, so anyways, and ascension can have many meanings, by the way. But in any event, we are going to... We're gonna close it out. Come into sample and loop. Yeah, by the way, guys, I'm looking for like a perfect loop and I'm just not getting it. And I would probably do this technique and probably get better results in sampler. But I've been making it a conscious effort to explore and play simpler more for the reasons I discussed earlier, because there's certain people that might only have access to like Ableton's like audio type stuff, like the Warp engine. And then you also get simpler, and you get drum rack in the other versions. I also feel like there's things that like simpler can do better than sampler. So like the more I'm as multifaceted using both as possible, the better. So I just wanted to play around with that a little bit, just let you know and encourage you to explore on your own right. I had a lot of fun tonight, and I fell in love with another thing, which is basically just falling in love with like another version of Collision, and the fact that like instead of feeding Collision's mallet and noise, where they use them separately or both into the resonator, which is essentially Corpus, sounds just as good as you taking just like a generic sine wave in operator and feeding it in. Could give you such organic feels, which is resonators, which is what a resonating thing does, which is why it's so powerful. What you can do with that, and then even going to a saw wave, or as it's actually called, a sawtooth wave, that can give you even more great possibilities. So that will be turned into like a full-scale tutorial at some point. Right now, I'm basically hashing out ideas. I kind of want to put out like one tutorial, then SDHO, then another tutorial in SDHO, and just keep cranking. By the way, to support me, Patreon, I will be creating that soon. Because to be honest with you, like, I can keep going, and I can keep making lots of these. So this is going to be a really cool one to go into. I don't know what I'm going to call it when I make it its full tutorial, but I had a really good time. I had a really good time hanging out with you guys. Cheers.